Hi, Mava. Hi, Sana. How are you?
Hi, Alexis.
Hi,
Good.
Alexis. Doing
Good.
well. Good to see you.
Good. Good to see you. So, we are talking this morning about the new retreat that you are leading on Shalom Mountain.
Yes.
Yes, we're very excited about this retreat. It is called Flesh and Spirit, the Power and Eros of Woman, and it is coming up this October, the 24th to the 27th.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so let's just jump right in. Can you just sort of start by telling us how this retreat came about?
Sure. So this retreat has really been a long time coming. It has been the brainchild of Sana and I since we were back in training together at Shalom some 10 years ago. And we really wanted to create something that went beyond the idea of just survival when we talk about what it means to be a woman, either if that's around sexual trauma or even just experiences of day-to-day, what it means to walk around in a female identified or non-binary body, and how we can feel more empowered, how we can feel our full eros, the fullness of ourselves, and live that out into the world.
That's
Right.
wonderful.
So when we first started dreaming this about a decade ago, we kept talking about the word thriving, right? Like, we're survivors and we know so many survivors, and like all of these women in our lives and in the Shalom community, like, we're a tribe of survivors, but like, we want to be thriving. Like, how do we get there? How do we get so far beyond survival that we're just in the moreness of life every day? So out of that, and out of 10 years of conversation, we came up with some great ideas. We've got this map that we're working with. It's this idea that we all have 4 bodies, right? We have our physical body, our mental body, our spiritual or soul body, and then our heart body, where all the other 3 dance together and integrate and express. And that really it's about working in all of those arenas that brings us into our full aliveness and our full power and the full vibrancy of our creative life energy. Mm-hmm. And then after these 10 years of conversation, the Me Too movement happened. And it just felt like it opened this window for this work to come forward, and like that it was really time for this retreat and this offering in our culture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think more and more people are feeling that, particularly right now, that, they're telling their stories sometimes for the first time. They're finding camaraderie with other people, and they're trying to figure out a way to express this, right? So they may have done a lot of personal work on themselves, but how do we live with each other? How do we support each other? How do we move out into the world now and try to change the culture that we're finding ourselves in a new and exciting way?
That's awesome. This sounds great. Really exciting.
Yeah.
Really exciting.
Yeah, we're really excited.
Yes, it's good. So you kind of answered this already, but if you have anything more to say about it, let me know. What do you hope attendees will get from the experience? You said moreness, thriving, vibrancy. That's what I heard. But if there's anything else, let me know.
Absolutely. So we're really big on this idea that it is our sexual energy and our relationship with our sexual energy that is a map or a guide to our full aliveness, to our power, to our creativity. So really, we're going to be working with that a lot. And in that realm, going to be focused a lot on consent and boundaries. So the hope is that attendees will walk out with more access to themselves, more understanding of how they navigate their life force, and actually more facility and skill around noticing, claiming, honoring, holding consent and boundaries for themselves and for others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we really are conceiving of this as somewhat beyond a regular Shalom retreat. So just like a lot of the other theme retreats, we're not going to be doing mat work exactly. We're going to be doing a lot of different experiments, and we're going to have a lot more time open for these exercises, particularly around consent and around boundaries boundaries and what that actually means, how creating boundaries for ourselves, creating boundaries with others, we actually have so much more access to our creativity, so much more access to our power, so much more understanding of how we are meant to be in the world. And so that's a lot of what we'll be exploring and playing with throughout the weekend.
Yeah, wonderful. That sounds great. I feel like your this is great. This is a great segue into the last question. Who is this retreat for? I think this speaks to a lot of women or women identified. Definitely, absolutely. But what do you think about that?
Mm-hmm.
So our
We
conception
thought a lot about this, actually.
Oh, awesome.
I'm glad you asked that question.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Maybe I feel like I'm talking a lot. Do you want to answer or do you want me to go?
Go ahead.
Okay. So we really conceptualize this as being for women, trans women, and non-binary humans who are comfortable diving into a woman-themed retreat. And the reason for that is we are absolutely convinced that the current culture, the current paradigm around aliveness and sexuality is actually damaging and traumatizing for all humans and all genders, but that it impacts different gender groups in different ways. And that in order to really allow the freedom and spaciousness to explore what we want to explore, we wanted to include these three groups that have been impacted in a similar way by this damaging, traumatizing culture around sexuality and eros and aliveness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll just add that, we're very aware that sexual trauma affects everyone. And we know that this might sound like an exciting experience for cisgender men as well. And we're certainly open to something surrounding that in the future. But as Sana said, we really felt that it was important to create an environment and a safe space for people who identify as women or trans women or non-binary, because they understand those experiences of how it is to be in the world in this way, particularly where we are right now with the Me Too movement. And so that is the intention of this particular group. And we'll see what comes from there.
Sounds great.
Right. And it's important to me to also say that we don't have a hierarchy around sexual trauma.
Exactly.
Right? Being alive in this day and age and this culture is sexually traumatizing.
Exactly.
So, if you want to come on the retreat, but you're like, my story of wounding isn't big enough, it is. We want you to come.
This isn't a retreat only for people who have experienced sexual trauma, even though that's some of where nice stories, coincide and where we are coming from in terms of our healing journeys. It really is for anyone who is just living in this world and maybe doesn't feel the fullness of their creativity, their eros, their sense of source, their sense of connection to the goddess, right? Anyone who wants more of that juice and excitement is more than welcome.
Perfect. That's awesome. I love this. That's a good call to arms. That was a good one. Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to wrap this up so that people just get a little taste. And if you want more information, we will have a link somewhere around this video where you can find out more about the retreat and when it is happening. And you can also register really easily that way.
Yeah, so if you want to talk to either of us about it more, please reach out. We're more than happy to chat with you.
Absolutely. Awesome. We've got a lot to say about it.
Yes, clearly. I know. I feel like this video could have gone on. I would like to end the recording and just be like, okay, so this is what I think about. I would love to talk more about it. It's so interesting. It's fascinating. I'm so glad that this retreat is happening. Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Meba and Sana. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See you both later. Have wonderful days.